Hello, hi. Yeah, hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm so happy to join us here again today. Some days it can be a struggle to get this recording done and edited. Today I will be talking to us about difficulties, difficulties that come along or that come with the lack of sense of belonging that a lot of orphans do experience. One of the most challenging concepts young orphans have to struggle with is what I call a sense of belonging. It's not something that is often spoken of because these days, any little thing, it's very easy for someone to look at you and say, "Oh, she's not confident. Oh, that boy has a low self-esteem. Oh, this, oh, that," without actually knowing if it's a trauma they're dealing with or where it's coming from. Losing a significant burden bearer, like one's parents, and I use the word burden bearer because not just financial only. Burden bearer could be emotional, someone who listens to you, someone you can talk to, someone who chastises you and can draw you back and hug you, let's choose one's parents. It often leaves one with emotional gaps that can be really difficult to fill. Really difficult to fill because Yoruba people used to say a particular proverb. They say, "Shebi baba, kule shebi baba, shebi iya, kule shebi iya." They want to, they desire to. But guess what? It can't be the same. Because they also have their own world, they have their own kids. And how much love do you really have to give? Yes. How much love do you really have to give and to go around? Some people even have kids that they don't love equally. Because one is a better child or listens, does everything you say, there's a tendency to want to love one better than the other. Lacking a sense of belonging comes with its own difficulties, and I'll be listing about 6 of them today. The first one is emotional distancing. When people lose a burden bearer, again, I'm using parents as an example because that's what happened to me. I wouldn't know what it could feel like for someone who lost a sister or someone who lost a brother, but from my own perspective, speaking of emotional distancing, within a stable family unit, orphans may feel emotionally distanced or emotionally disconnected from other people. And like I said, it doesn't mean that there are no people around them. There are people around them, but they just might struggle to find people who actually truly understand their experiences, or people who can offer the same type of unconditional support that their parents typically provide. I was a little lucky with that. I was surrounded by great family members who closed up the gap a little bit, but in spite of that, I still occasionally felt displaced because humans can only try. They can't heal. The emotional distance is oftentimes a coping mechanism and not necessarily a social problem. It doesn't mean, oh, this person doesn't know how to relate or how to make friends. No. It just means the people available cannot really offer that thing that a person may desire. And let me use an example. There's a mother, there's a daughter, and the daughter needs something and goes to the mother to say, "Mommy, I need this." And the mother is like, "I don't have it." The daughter may be upset that the mother doesn't have it. But because it's her mother, she's able to, express and say, "Mom, I've been asking for this thing since when now? You don't have it, you don't have it. When will you have it?" Some people might say that as rude, but I don't see it as being rude. I see it as being expressive. Yes. The daughter is able to do that and get away with it. For an orphan, you can't do that because Even if they see it as expressive coming from their own daughter, they wouldn't see it as being expressive from you. They will see it as you being entitled. Exactly. If you can understand where I'm coming from, that's one. I just use that as an example. That's not the emotional distance I'm talking about. I'm just talking about people not really understanding or not giving exactly what will actually fill that void, because the person impacted or affected can't really express themselves because this person is doing you a favor. Number two is identity struggles. Family often play a key role in shaping a child's identity, a child's value, their cultural connections. For orphans who are lucky to be part of another family, there's a possibility of adopting the values or the systems that goes on in that family. But again, they may not be entirely aware of how wholesome the value is because some things may be hidden. And if that is not the case, it may not resonate with them. They may still be stuck with their experience with their parents, and it may be a struggle to transition into their new family or into the new system they find themselves in. Another one is trust and attachment issue. Experiencing early abandonment or loss can affect a child's ability to trust others or form lasting relationships. Orphans, I'm not saying all orphans now, at least the ones I know and myself, they tend to second guess everything. This is because of some of the experiences they've had while forming new relationships. It could be maybe because someone did something for them, because of that they want to lord over them. People do things for them and they hang it around their neck. They lose their freedom of speech. And also, orphans tend to fear that existing relationships or the future relationship they have could end in similar loss. So it makes it really difficult to want to create or fully commit to new connections or new relationships. The fourth thing is social stigma and stereotypes. A few times, orphans may face stigma from others, which can contribute to feeling different or excluded. Again, like I said earlier, humans can only try. It's not something a lot of people do intentionally. They just find themselves doing it. They don't even know that they're doing that. People sometimes, in the course of trying to support, may unconsciously give the impression of, I have what you don't have, even when they don't mean it. The people offering gestures and support, they can only do what they can do. So it's a reality that we just have to live in. It's not something some of them do intentionally, it just happens. Yes, it just happens because it's all part of being human. So it takes extra effort from the person who is an orphan to guard and protect themselves. The fifth one is insecurity in relationships, which is similar to the attachment problem I just mentioned. When orphans become part of new families or social groups, they may fear being rejected or not fully accepted. You see, this insecurity can create barriers to actually belonging, as they may second guess the permanence of these bonds. You know, someone who has experienced hurt before is different from someone who has not experienced loss before. You can't fear what you've never experienced. You may have seen it in movies or heard it from people, but if it has not happened to you, there's really no trauma to deal with here. But if it has happened to you before, it happened the first time, it happened the second time, naturally you're like, do I really want to love? It's just better I don't love deeply so that if it happens that this person, this, I won't feel it. Over time, I've realized that you're just doing yourself more harm. Sometimes in marriage, it could take a while and a lot of work from the significant other to actually convince them that I'm here to stay. We are not dying. I'm not leaving you. Especially if they have experienced hurt again from people who are supposed to protect them or other relationships that they've had in the past. The last one is lack of continuity. And this is most applicable to orphans who move between different caregivers, different foster homes or institutions. This brings a struggle or a sense of instability. I'm happy that I didn't have to go through that, but I have a sister who has lived in a couple of places, and I know exactly how that has psychologically affected her. You see, in another episode, I'm going to speak about caregivers. They're doing a fantastic job, I must say. People who actually take children who are not their children, who take them in, they're doing a really great job. But they can only try. I was speaking to a friend once about how I've lived in different places, and he said, oh, I've done the same, and I have parents, so it's not because you're an orphan. And I smiled. Even though this may be true, moving in and living with people when you still have your parents as a child or a teenager, it doesn't feel the same as when you are an orphan. You see, it's like having a car, but you choose to walk in order to exercise. It's not the same feeling for someone who actually has no choice than to walk, and even though they are exercising too, it doesn't change the fact that they cannot afford a car. Hopefully that makes some sense to you. This constant change can prevent orphans from forming a long-term sense of belonging anywhere. And a lot of times, most of us look forward to the new family we want to create. We look forward to having our own family. To be honest, since the death of my parents, I can say that my new family is where I truly have a sense of belonging. I haven't had that kind of sense of belonging anywhere else. And it doesn't mean that anywhere I've lived that they didn't try or they were wicked to me. No. Finding belonging as an orphan often requires building relationships based on mutual trust, finding spaces where they feel accepted, and learning to establish a sense of identity independent of family ties. I believe sharing these views would help other orphans to feel less alone and also help their friends to be a little more understanding without coming from a pity perspective. I understand this can be a lot tough on their associates, but it's worth learning in order for us to build a strong, inclusive community. This brings us to the end of today's episode, and I hope you've learned one or two things. Have a lovely week ahead. Thank you.